All right, guys, got a whole bunch of big breaking news to deliver for you here. So let's start with this. The Democrats on the House Oversight Committee just released some new Epstein documents. And oh boy, is this a big deal. So we just learned that Sloppy Steve Bannon, Peter Thiel, and Elon Musk are all in the Epstein files. And it even looks like Elon Musk visited the island. Yes, he visited the notorious pedophile island. So this is incredible. This is a guy, by the way, who has been accusing all sorts of people of being pedophiles on a regular basis. And now we learned that the New York Times did this big story that they released this week, which shows that Elon's dad was effectively a pedophile. They have stories of him abusing his own children. But not only that, so Elon knew that, helped cover that up. And then now we're learning that he was on Epstein's island and he was in the Epstein files. Sloppy Steve Bannon, of course, making a big deal about the Epstein files, saying release the Epstein files and things of that nature. And then come to find out he's in the Epstein files. And Peter Thiel, this is a guy who's going around the country right now giving lectures about the Antichrist. Very bizarre, very weird guy. Like, he seemingly can't put a sentence together without falling all over himself. There's also some sketchy stuff in his background in terms of one of his lovers who wound up dead. Very, very strange. Apparently, he's in the Epstein files as well. So we need every single Epstein file released because this is wild. I mean, imagine what else they're sitting on. They were sitting on this for years. And this is only like a little taste. So I see what Mehdi Hassan said here on Twitter. He said, such a bad week for Musk. He spends years obsessing over pedophiles, only for the New York Times to accuse his dad of being one, and him knowing about it. And now Epstein asking in a file if Musk was coming to visit him on the island. Sheesh. Wow. So that's how casual the relationship was between Elon Musk and Jeffrey Epstein. Is Jeffrey Epstein would say, hey, bro, you coming to visit me on the island? Wow. That's incredible. That's absolutely crazy. So, again, release every single Epstein file. Now, by the way, a few days back, this was breaking news at the time that the White House was working behind the scenes to prevent a vote on the Thomas Massie Ro Khanna Epstein motion. And they were pressuring Republicans to flip. So there were a bunch of Republicans who signed on to this. Like, every Democrat supports it. And a bunch of Republicans were signing on to it. Trump is so panicked by this, he was trying to call up Republicans and get them to flip. And in fact, there was some quote of his that was released the other day where he said, why don't people understand that Palm Beach in the 1990s was a totally different time? In other words, that seems like sort of like a low-key admission. Like, yeah, we were doing some freaky ass shit, bro. We were doing some freaky shit. And so they're working on it. Now, by the way, I should also point out, and I'll get a little bit more on this later for you guys, but we have the 218th vote, which basically guarantees the release of the Epstein files. It guarantees the passage of this Massie-Khanna motion because a Democrat just won a special election and won in huge, overwhelming numbers. So I'll get to more on that a little bit later. But now let me talk about this here real quick. So I'm sure you guys saw this a couple days ago that Pete Hegseth was basically calling this emergency meeting. And it basically included like all of the top level officials in the military, all of them. And this is something that like pretty much never happens because, first of all, I mean, to gather all those top military officials in one place is sort of dangerous by its very nature because, you don't want all your top military people in one place. They're sitting fucking ducks. But that's point number one. But point number two is, I mean, this just simply doesn't really happen. This is something that's very bizarre. And as everybody was saying at the time, like, nothing good can come of this. Like, there is nothing positive that's going to come out of this. It's got to be something bad. And so people were speculating. They were like, holy shit. Is he officially announcing that we're going to war with Venezuela and ground invading? Is it going to be war with Iran? Is it going to be some, like, over-the-top loyalty pledge that has to be done? Are they reworking the chain of command? Like, how bad is this going to be? Well, guess what? We just got the news. So CNN is reporting this. Hegseth summoned top officers to Virginia to deliver a speech about the warrior ethos and outline a new vision for the U.S. military, sources say. He's also expected to discuss new readiness, fitness, and grooming standards. Plan is to record it and post it on his socials later on. Oh my God. Oh my God. When Crystal saw this, she immediately texted me and said, no more influencers in government, man. Like, we can't do this. I mean, this is crazy. You're trying to fucking flex for the gram. So you're like fucking up the timeline and the schedules of every single top military official in the country. What are you, mental? What is this? What a fucking childish way to act. They say, quote, "It's about getting the horses into the stable and whipping them into shape," said a defense official familiar with the planning. "And the guys with the stars on their shoulders make for a better audience from an optics standpoint." Oh my God. This is a showcase for Hegseth to tell them, get on board or potentially have your career shortened. Jesus fucking Christ. Jesus fucking Christ. So, I mean, that's low. That's just so low. Now, I will say, though, that honestly would be a best case scenario if that's all that happened. But I'm a little skeptical because somebody tweeted the following. Ready? July 1935, German generals were called to a surprise assembly in Berlin and informed that their previous oath to the Weimar Constitution was void and that they would be required to swear a personal oath to the Fuhrer. Most generals took the new oath to keep their positions. So somebody tweeted that, and Pete Hegseth quote tweets it and says, "Cool story, General." So, in other words, yes, it does kind of look like, I'm sure he was trying to get some pictures for the gram or some fucking TikTok bullshit or some YouTube bullshit or Twitter bullshit or whatever. But my fear is, no, they're actually trying to do some loyalty shit. He was actually trying to do some loyalty type shit for Trump. And this is at the same time that we're attacking Venezuela. They're threatening to attack Mexico. We're on the verge of attacking Iran again. We're attacking Yemen and Somalia. I mean, not good, y'all. Really, really not good. All right, so I should also point out while we're on the topic of Pete Hegseth that the other day he said, "Under my direction, the soldiers who fought at the Battle of Wounded Knee will keep their medals. This decision is final. Their place in history is settled." So I have to admit ignorance on this. I guess it had slipped my mind over the years. I was like, what the fuck is this Battle of Wounded Knee thing? So I went and looked it up. It was in 1890, and it wasn't a battle. It was an absolute massacre. It was just a flat-out massacre. And what happened was a bunch of Native Americans got slaughtered, including women, including children. And it's kind of amazing that as they're committing war crimes in 2025, that's not enough for them. They're going back and trying to rewrite history about war crimes from the fucking 1890s. That's what we're doing. So this is shameful. This is disgusting. This is his way of saying, like, nothing we do can ever be considered wrong. I mean, even to the point where, hey, did you just slaughter innocent women and children? Well, we say that's okay because we're us and we get to do whatever the fuck we want. So really, really loathsome. This guy, Patrick Wyman on Twitter, quote tweeted that and said, "At some point, you just have to assume that he's an actively evil person, right? This was a massacre of mostly women and children, largely unarmed. One of the most shameful events in a period of American history that was full of shameful events. You can't defend it." That does not mean they won't try. And that's exactly what he's doing here by trying to give the medals back. All right, more. So let's talk a little bit about what's going on at the UN. So Benjamin Netanyahu tried to give a speech at the UN, and it warmed my heart to see the reaction. Nearly the entire United Nations walked out in protest as soon as Netanyahu was about to begin his speech. And I'm not going to lie to you guys, man. He looked kind of shook. And he looked a little surprised by it. But that's what went down. Then, of course, Netanyahu went on to give the most pompous, smug, stupid, dumbass, warmongering, lying speech you've ever heard in your fucking life. But, I mean, it was basically fucking empty. It was like 90% empty when he actually went on to give his speech. So massive, massive protest at the UN. We love to see that. Now, want to hear something incredibly fucking dystopian? Israel is now claiming that at the same time Netanyahu was doing his speech, they hijacked the phones of people in Gaza in order to broadcast Netanyahu's speech from their speakers, in addition to loudspeakers the IDF had already placed inside Gaza. So think about this. All of your people are getting genocided in real time. There's mass bombings and mass starvation on a regular basis. They're literally implementing the final solution. And at the same time, over these loudspeakers, you hear Netanyahu giving his fucking cartoon villain speech, and your phone gets hacked and it starts playing Netanyahu's speech. What the fuck? At some point, it's like, bro, do you not realize how villainous you look? Do you not understand it? Because it is the clearest thing I've ever seen in my life, and it's not particularly close. So that is wild. Now, I will say, though, things are starting to add up. I mean, things are starting to pile on top of each other because there were colossal protests outside of the place that Netanyahu was staying in New York. There were huge protests, and I think they even had, they arrested some protesters. They were doing some, like, noise protest thing. But also, on the way from Israel to New York, Netanyahu had to make a point of avoiding airspace in a bunch of countries because a bunch of countries are now saying, bitch, you are not allowed to fly through our area. I believe Slovenia banned Netanyahu from ever stepping foot in their country. You have other countries that are now signing on and doing the exact same thing. This is a big deal. Now, beyond that, we also have this flotilla that was going to Gaza to deliver, food and medicine and things of that nature. And there were attacks on the flotilla. And I don't know if anybody got injured. I don't think any ships sank, but there were, attacks. I don't know if they're just trying to scare them or what, but there were these attacks on this flotilla. And in response to these are all civilians who were just trying to deliver like baby formula to starving babies. And so in reaction to that, you finally had a bunch of countries snap. And so Spain said, fuck this, we're going to send our Navy to protect the ships. Then you had Italy, exact same thing happen. We're going to send our Navy to protect the ships. Greece, similar thing. They said we're going to protect the ships, but only in the waters that aren't technically like Israel's waters. I think that's how they're approaching it. But that's a big deal, man. Now it gets even crazier because the reason Italy sent the ship, it wasn't because Meloni's a fucking fascist. She's the leader of Italy. And so it wasn't her making that decision. What happened was you had these massive protests. You had all these dock workers who are out there in the streets, and they're protesting the genocide, and they're saying, we refuse to do any sort of weapon shipments to Israel. That's done. That's over with. In fact, let's embargo Israel more generally. And it was the dock workers who effectively forced the hand to make to make Italy send a ship to protect the flotilla. So I have to say, there's more movement than I've seen in a long time where it's like finally, what Israel has been doing is sort of catching up to it, where these countries are sort of snapping now and going, look, we can't fucking just sit idly by anymore as you bomb babies and starve innocent people and fucking shamelessly lie about it to all of our faces. This is insanity. And so you love to see it. Guys, you need to understand something. If the world really got together at the UN and they decided we are going to actually sanction and embargo Israel and nobody's going to trade with them anymore, they would genuinely and sincerely be cooked. And so that's what needs to happen. That's what needs to happen. It's that simple. Now, I should also point out that Microsoft disabled a service that they were giving to Israel because it turns out that whatever program they were using, they figured out Israel was using this to spy on and go after Palestinian civilians. And so it was actually DropSite, Ryan Grimm, Jeremy Scahill, they reported on this. And, I think there was maybe some uprising within Microsoft. And Microsoft decided we're going to disable Israel's ability to use this service. So again, look, I know it's cold comfort because we're deep into the genocide here and we're at the final solution stage. But it looks like a bunch of countries are finally stepping up to one extent or another. And it goes beyond just what I think are the virtue signal reactions of some countries going, we're going to recognize Palestine now. I mean, it's almost like a consolation prize. Sorry, we sat here as you got genocided, but hey, we'll recognize your state as everybody's being massacred in it. Like, that seemed to me like more of a virtue signal. But now you have countries stepping up in a variety of different ways, and you love to see it. All right, so some other big news. As you know, James Comey is now being charged by the Trump regime. Now, what you might not know is that the U.S. attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia, said to Trump, like, hey, man, there's nothing here. Actually, I'm sorry, that might have been about Letitia James. But the story's the same for both of them, actually. You have these experts who go, hey, man, we looked into it. There's nothing here. There's no crime. I don't know what you want me to tell you. What does Trump do? He goes, I don't care. You're fired. I'm going to bring in somebody who'll charge him anyway. So he's trying to charge Letitia James. He's trying to charge James Comey. Lindsay Halligan is this total hack who's never prosecuted a case like this, brought in by Trump to be a hack. And so she's the newly installed U.S. attorney, never prosecuted a case. She presented the Comey indictment all by herself to the grand jury. And now they're running into an issue that, number one, a bunch of people are resigning because they know Comey didn't break any laws. Number two, she's not going to be able to find an attorney that's willing to take the case. It's not going to happen. And so, really, this is such obvious lawfare and political persecution that this is going to fucking fall apart instantly. And, it doesn't matter what you think of James Comey as an individual. The fact of the matter is he committed no fucking crime. Guys, there's an argument to be made that one of the reasons Trump won in 2016 is because of James Comey and because of his investigation into Hillary Clinton. And when he announced, the investigation is still open, remember that? Hillary was like, I blame him for me losing. Now, that's not the total picture, of course. There's an argument that he's somewhat responsible for it. And so a guy who ended up helping Trump get elected in 2016, well, you didn't stay on King Joffrey's nuts the whole time, so now we're going to throw the book at you and try to ruin your fucking life. So absolutely crazy. I think the case will fall apart, but this is what Trump's doing now. He's going after everybody who he has a bone to pick with. So if I'm Jack Smith and Fannie Willis, you better watch the fuck out because he's going after Letitia James, going after James Comey, and you're on the list. By the way, the statute of limitations was about to run out. And so Trump was like, you better judge him now because the statute of limitations is going away. And that's exactly what fucking happened. That's exactly what happened. Other giant news the other day, there was Russian Bear nuclear bombers that were spotted off the Alaska coast. So in other words, Russian fighter jets were flying near U.S. airspace. So close, in fact, that the U.S. scrambled jets to counter that in a defensive posture. And this is something we've seen them invade Polish airspace. We've talked about that. We've seen them invade other airspace, and we've talked about that. They are being very bold. They're being very aggressive, and this is something that is absolutely terrifying. By the way, unknown drones are also appearing all over Europe. The speculation is that's Russia and it's more threats. Russian satellites are chasing NATO satellites. This is a big deal. This is a big deal. It looks like Putin feels absolutely emboldened at the moment. It's not only Ukraine that's in jeopardy and under threat, even though, of course, they've borne the brunt of it from Russia. But all these post-Soviet states, none of them are safe. And now you have Russia basically threatening U.S. airspace in Alaska. And this is a dangerous time, man. This is a dangerous time. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I also got to give you this update. So Sinclair they finally caved, and they decided we will be airing Jimmy Kimmel Live. Remember, them and Nexstar were saying, we're not going to show Jimmy Kimmel Live, even after ABC brought him back. And they're like more conservative-leaning companies. But what happened was ABC, Bob Iger, and Disney, they were like, how about we take away your live sports? How about that? So, okay, you don't want to play Jimmy Kimmel? Fine, you don't get any of the live sports. And so they panicked, and they were like, okay, I guess, you got it, dog. Fine, we'll let you, we'll run Jimmy Kimmel. We'll run Jimmy Kimmel. And so Sinclair folded. I haven't heard about Nexstar yet, but I assume that they're probably going to fold soon as well. Update on the Charlie Kirk thing. Now, you guys know I've been all over this, and I've covered every single weird little update, every single weird little detail. A lot of the stuff, as you know, doesn't add up, doesn't make sense. The official story is so fucking bogus that Kash Patel had to come out and say, like, oh no, I'm looking at other theories too, because I know our theory sucks. But anyway, I'm on it. Why did he change his clothes multiple times? I don't know. Why did he reassemble and disassemble the rifle multiple times? I don't know. There's all these things that just simply don't add up. Well, guess what? You would think that in a scenario like that, they're on top of it, and one of the first things you would do is order an autopsy. Well, guess what? Utah Dispatcher states there was no autopsy done on Charlie Kirk. Quote, he did not go in for an autopsy. The death certificate was signed by the doctor at the hospital. That is crazy. Now, meanwhile, we went through this the other day, but the fact of the matter is, that was not a 30-06 shot that killed him. It just wasn't. That's not how it works. In fact, the big hole in his neck where he was gushing blood out of, that is almost certainly an exit wound and not an entrance wound. That's not a 30-06 round going through your neck. First of all, it would have blown his fucking neck off or his head off. And so, very unlikely was that. But they said, oh no, he was a man of steel and the bullet stopped in him. Who fucking believes this? And now we learn no autopsy. So this thing, man, stinks to the high heavens, bro. It really does. And of course, the reaction to it has been to treat Charlie like a martyr. And so now there's talk about Trump is going to name a U.S. warship after. Really? We're going to get the USS Charlie Kirk? Look, he should still be alive. Don't get it twisted. But also, he is a fucking podcaster. We do know that, right? We do understand that, right? The USS Charlie Kirk is coming. I mean, this is crazy. The pedestal they're putting this man on is wild to me. Also, legislation has been filed in Congress to put Charlie Kirk on U.S. coins. They want to put him on like a coin that's worth $1 or some shit. I'm like literally at a loss for words. So, if you're keeping track of this stuff, you're not allowed to ever disagree with him. You're not allowed to quote him and say, hey, I disagree with those things. You can't do that. All you can do is heaping, fawning praise. And the right are falling all over themselves to try to, be more pro-Charlie than the next guy. And so there was also legislation filed, I believe it was in Florida, to start naming roads after Charlie Kirk. Like, bro, the right has just lost their fucking minds. The right has lost their minds. Like, what are you going to do next? Are we going to have bridges named after Steven Crowder or Ben Shapiro? Like, this is fucking mental. It's absolutely mental. Oh my God. And I'm sorry, you don't see this sort of thing on the Democratic side. If I got murked, they wouldn't give a fuck, right? Like, and not, forget me, Rachel Maddow, something happened to her. They wouldn't, here, let's put her on a fucking dollar bill or some shit. Like, are you crazy? Jesus Christ. All right. So this was wild. So there's a writer for the Daily Caller, and it's insane to me that some editor looked at this and was like, yeah, this is cool. Run with this. So they wrote an article, and the title is, Enough is Enough, I Choose Violence. So this guy, Jeffrey Ingersoll, who wrote the piece, went on Twitter and said publicly to the world, you want to shoot at our leaders, burn our churches, assault our women. You want to dismiss all charges, fail to investigate, fail to prosecute, fail to uphold a basic social compact. You want to justify assault, vandalism, and even assassination. So it's open season on conservatives? Fine, I choose violence. Today for the Daily Caller, an explicit call. If corrupt liberal prosecutors won't help us, we should help ourselves. Literally saying, let's do violence. I choose violence. I'm calling for violence. I mean, this is insane. This is insane. By the way, I also love, you guys have the presidency, the Senate, the House, the judiciary. You run everything. Enough with the cry bully, we're the victim shit. Enough. For the love of God, you can hand them 17 W's in a row and they'll think of something back from 1978 that they didn't win. And oh my God. This is crazy to me. Also, by the way, no acknowledgement, of course not, that this regime is building fucking concentration camps and ruining people's lives and sending them there with no due process. That's political violence. You know what else is political violence? Blowing up little dinghy fishing boats off the coast of Venezuela. You know what else is violence? Illegally bombing Iran. You know what else is violence? Illegally bombing Yemen and Somalia. You know what else is threatening violence? Saying that we're going to take Greenland, we're going to take Panama, we're going to attack Mexico. That's all violence. Signing a pro-torture executive order, as Trump did, that's violence. Building alligator Auschwitz and, fucking Guantanamo Bay, sending immigrants there and sending them to CCOT. That's all violence. But to him, political violence doesn't count when we do it. Because it's state violence. It's official, so it's okay. How many videos do I have to see on a daily basis of some ICE schmuck fucking barreling over somebody or punching some 80-year-old in the face? Like, or disappearing people. Over 1,000 people have been disappeared from alligator Auschwitz. This motherfucker doesn't care. He's not writing about that. He's writing about, hey, yeah, go assault, any local liberal you may know. Why? Because I've decided they are the problem. They are shooting at our leaders. They are burning our churches. They are assaulting our women. Like, this is all fucking fantasy bullshit. Jesus Christ. Can you believe this guy just openly wrote that article? It's crazy. It's so crazy. All right. More. So Steve Bannon spoke to the New Republic, and he told them that he fully expects Trump to use the Texas ICE office shooting as the hook to unleash law enforcement on liberal immigration groups. And he's going to say that these groups are leading to political violence because they have anti-ICE rhetoric. This is crazy. So in other words, groups that help immigrants, groups that give legal assistance to immigrants, groups that explain people their constitutional rights and their human rights, he's going to try to use this to take them down. Meanwhile, this shooting of the ICE office, they only killed detainees. They only killed immigrants. The guy who did it, something Jan, Jahn is his last name, Jonathan Jan or something like that. This motherfucker only killed immigrants, 3 immigrants. Not a single hair was hurt on the head of an ICE agent. And he wrote on the bullets, anti-ICE. What? We got fuck ICE is a thing, abolish ICE is a thing. Nobody on the left says anti-ICE. Like, what are you talking about? And so come to find out, Ken Klippenstein did some reporting on this. The guy's a fucking, like, 4chan edgelord. The guy's a 4chan edgelord. He's like a libertarian. And he was trying to do a shooting and have people blame it on the left. But he's so fucking stupid, he wrote anti-ICE. And he obviously chickened out and said, well, I'll just kill the immigrants instead because they're worth less in his mind than the ICE agents. And so, yet again, I mean, how many times have we seen this story play out? Where it's like, it's a MAGA asshole who ends up doing the violence, or some right-wing asshole who ends up doing the violence, or in the case of Charlie Kirk, nobody fucking knows, and it looks like a professional hit job, maybe some intelligence agency, right? But very rarely, it's like 90-10, that it's always people on the right. It's very rarely somebody on the left, but the left always gets blamed, and Trump is going to use this as another Reichstag fire, just like the fucking assassination of Charlie Kirk. This is crazy, bro. This is absolutely crazy. All right, more. So, in a stunning example of dishonesty, the White House tweeted, new poll, 57% of the American people approve of President Trump. And then, I mean, that's absurd. I mean, we're seeing polls 37%, 38%. The high I'm seeing is like 42. So where'd he get this poll from? Pulled it right out of his anus. Now, having said that, somebody decided, well, let me look at the poll that they're citing. And so they were citing Rasmussen. So somebody went to the most recent Rasmussen poll. They lied about their own numbers from their own conservative pollster. How insane is that? So this is a very conservative pollster, and their numbers are, ready? 49% approve, 49% disapprove. That's their numbers. Now, again, I want to reiterate, those are fucking bullshit. They're way above any other outlet, right? Like, his approval rating is way too high here. Having said that, they said 57%. The fucking number is 49%. They lie about everything. Just like, remember that video of Mark Zuckerberg sitting next to Trump and Mark Zuckerberg saying, oh, yes, sir, I'm going to invest like trillions of dollars, sir. And then on a hot mic moment, he said to Trump, oh, did I do a good job? I'm sorry, I forgot the number you told me to say. And Trump was laughing like, yeah, you did fine, you did fine. In other words, they were planning the insane lie, which is why Trump in press conferences says, I brought in $17 trillion. Sometimes he says that. Sometimes he says 9 trillion. It's neither one of those things. Those numbers are fucking made up. But this is what he does, bro. It's unbelievable. He lies about everything, and he's so used to getting away with it, he feels emboldened, and he makes the lies more and more absurd. All right, so how's this for a horrifying fact? This one's tough to sit on here, bro. But so this is from Fannie Mae. If we want affordable homes again, housing prices need to crash 38% or incomes need to rise by 60%. That's how bad the housing market is right now. So in other words, further evidence, we are heading towards an absolute collapse of the house of cards that is the U.S. economy. You know, I've given you all the warning signs. Everything is fucking, blinking bright red. As bad as you think it is, it's going to be worse. It's going to be worse. I think we're going to eclipse the subprime mortgage crisis and Great Recession. I'm convinced of it. And when you see a fact like this, that's crazy, man. That's crazy. This is just to get back to the levels that the pricing was in 2016 to 2019. You need housing prices to crash 38% or incomes to rise by 60%. At the same time, inflation is going up, unemployment's going up. Like, there's insane what we're witnessing here, and the collapse is coming, I'm telling you. All right, I'm sure some of you guys saw this one, but Alex Jones went on Twitter, and he thought he was trolling the left, and he tweeted a picture of himself with the fucking Hitler stash. He had the little fucking Hitler stash, which is just, I mean, like, what the fuck are you doing? And he said some shit like, look, I converted to Democrat because those Democrats actually are like Hitler, bro. Now, you ready for the most hilarious part of this? So in the replies, it's nothing but far right wingers mocking Alex because they're saying, why are you pretending like Hitler was left wing, you dumb fuck? We like Hitler and he was right wing. So no, don't do this stupid like, well, actually, the left and the Democrats love Hitler. They're like, no, we love Hitler, and you should too. Stop doing this dumbass shit where you blame the left for Hitler. Hitler was based, and you should be more like Hitler. That's what the replies are. I mean, it's just, I don't know what the fuck happened to this country and the discourse in this country, but the far right has just absolutely lost it, bro. They absolutely have. Now, the other day on the show, we talked about a 79-year-old or 80-year-old car wash owner in Van Nuys. And this guy was basically beat up by ICE. ICE, like, plowed over him in order to get to who they thought were undocumented immigrants that worked for him. Well, it turns out that the people who worked for him were not undocumented immigrants. They were legal immigrants, and they had their papers. And so they really injured this guy, and he spent some time in the hospital because they fucking barreled over him. And now this guy is suing ICE for $50 million because of the injuries he sustained. And come to find out, the story is actually even worse than we thought. The ICE agents were told, hey, these people have papers. And they go, no, you don't. You're fucking illegal. Shut up. You're an illegal. And so we might get a little bit of comeuppance here. And look, I would recommend to anybody who's getting assaulted by these agents, understand all of these things they're doing are wildly illegal. Yes, you should sue them. Yes, you should go after them. Yes, they should be forced to not cover their fucking faces anymore. I mean, this is a rogue regime with a domestic Gestapo running wild. And so shout out to this guy for trying to hold them accountable. What happened to him was just abysmal. All right, now, our boy Shoykat Chakrabarti, who was one of the co-founders of Justice Democrats, now he's running for the House of Representatives in Nancy Pelosi's district. Now, we don't know if Nancy is actually going to run again or if she's going to retire. Nobody really knows at the moment. But listen to this. So there's a new poll that just came out. It's California's 11th congressional district. And in the poll, Pelosi's at 47% and Shoykat is at 34%. Okay, so he's down double digits. He's got some work to do. About 20% of people are undecided. You ready for this? After you tell people the biographies of the two candidates, Pelosi and Shoykat, then it goes, Shoykat shoots up to 44% and Pelosi is losing with 36%. So when I say we're witnessing a sea change in the Democratic Party, I mean it. I mean it. The Zoran thing was not a one-off. I know the establishment is hoping it's a one-off. It is not a one-off. All of the insurgent outsider candidates on the Democratic side who are fighters and who actually want to fight to make this country a social democracy, give people health care, give people education, give people higher wages, give people unions, etc., lower drug prices. These are the people who are going to win. Be anti-war, be anti-genocide. These are the people who are going to win. And so this is a big deal. This poll is a political earthquake, man. And of course, we hope he does well. All right. How's this for crazy? So we discussed on the show, they want to give a $20 billion bailout to Argentina. Trump does. And Scott Bessent as well, the Treasury Secretary as well. Well, guess what? There's even Republican politicians are going, what the fuck is this? So Chuck Grassley, who's notorious for having just an amazing Twitter game, he comes out and says, farmers very upset about Argentina selling soybeans to China right after USA bailout. Still zero USA soybeans sold to China. Meanwhile, China is still hitting the U.S. with 20% retaliatory tariff. We need a China trade deal now. Farmers need markets to boost farm economy. So what he's saying here is, and this is totally true, all the soybean farmers in the U.S. are getting cooked right now because most of them sold to China. Well, because of Trump's trade war, China goes, all right, go fuck yourself. We're not going to get soybeans from America anymore. We're going to get them from Brazil, for example, and Argentina and other places. And so now soybean farmers in this country are fucking cooked. I mean, they're desperate for a bailout. And instead of them getting a bailout, which, by the way, they probably will, we'll see, but my guess is they will. I think they're in preliminary talks now. But there was more talk of giving Argentina a bailout first before anybody said anything about the soybean farmers. And by the way, it's all self-inflicted. If Trump just didn't do his dumbass trade war, these people wouldn't need a bailout. The soybean farmers wouldn't need a bailout. But how crazy is that? It takes a Republican senator to say to Trump, hey man, bailing out Argentina, screwing over American farmers, that doesn't sound like America first, you bitch. And by the way, he's making more noise than a lot of Democrats. Unfortunately, for the life of me, I don't understand. Where are the Democrats talking about Trump's illegal war on Venezuela, bombing Venezuelan fishing boats on a daily basis? Where are they talking about the illegal bailout of Argentina? What happened? I thought because Javier Milei is this anarcho-capitalist libertarian, he's going to cut government to the bone and unleash the beast of the free market, and the economy in Argentina is going to be so amazing. It's going to be like a utopia. And then come to find out, as soon as he implements, neoliberalism on steroids, anarcho-capitalism, slashes the government massively, privatizes everything in sight. Oh, would you look at that? Everything implodes. Inflation goes up, unemployment goes up, people are struggling. He already got an IMF bailout. Now he wants a U.S. bailout. So what happened? All the libertarian bros, this is like, hold your fucking L. This is your theory of government, and it blew up within fucking like a year or two. Jesus Christ, man. Jesus Christ. All right, guys. So we also have Trump in the White House was asked about the West Bank, and he said something that people are talking about quite a bit. So he said, quote, "I will not allow Israel to annex the West Bank. Nope, I will not allow it. It's not going to happen. There's been enough. It's time to stop now, okay?" So that's what Trump said. I got some bad news for Trump. Bitch, it's already happening. It's already happening. Israel just rounded up like 1,200 Palestinians in the West Bank, and they're fucking torturing them and holding them as hostages as we speak. They're taking over more territory by the day. The videos of the illegal settlers just kicking Palestinians out of their homes, I see them all the fucking time. The IDF is already like in position. The West Bank is de facto annexed already. Says, oh, I'm not going to let it happen. It already happened, and you didn't say dick about it. Meanwhile, remember, he took $100 million from Miriam Adelson, the pro-Israel hack donor, Miriam Adelson, and the quid pro quo was, you need to let Israel annex the entire West Bank. So it's already happening, and here he is pretending to be Mr. Tough Guy. He's going to eat these fucking words. You want to know how I know that? Because he's already eating the words. They're already taking it over. They're doing the final solution in Gaza so they can build fucking casinos on the beach and build, Trump properties on the beach, ethnically cleansing the area, genociding the area, stealing the land. But, I'm sure he's going to draw a line for moral and ethical reasons over the West Bank. Please. Who believes this? Who believes this? Unbelievable, man. All right. Oh, looks like all my other... Looks like some of my things aren't working, guys. Some of my things are failing. But I do have one more thing that I'll bring up for you. I told you I'd come back to this earlier in this recording. So, Raul Grijalva was the... Oh, fuck, now this one's not working either. Now it's working, okay. So, Raul Grijalva was the Democratic congressperson in New Mexico. And to put this in perspective, so there's this blue area. We just had a special election. Raul Grijalva passed away. He was actually a Justice Democrat. He had a great voting record. So in this area, Kamala won it by 17 points. Raul Grijalva won it by 28 points. So we just had a special election. And Adelita Grijalva, who I believe is the daughter of Raul Grijalva, she won by 47 points. So it was plus 28 Democrat, or plus 17, now it's plus 47. So it looks like what we're witnessing, people are finally fucking fed up. They're finally fed up. And it looks like the Republicans are going down. Now, as I always say to you, imagine if instead of people voting just out of hatred and spite of the Republicans, imagine if Democrats actually fought. Imagine if Democrats actually fought. It'd be amazing, and we'd be winning by margins that we haven't seen since FDR's dominant era. And so there we have it. There's a couple more things that I wanted to give you guys, but it looks like my computer just shit the bed here, and so I can't actually pull them up. But it's only like 2 or 3 things. I didn't miss much. We'll get to it on Monday if it's important. All right, guys. I love you all. Everybody have a great rest of your weekend, and I'll talk to you soon.